You corrected a high, watched the number, nothing happened, so you corrected again. And then at 2 a.m., you're in the kitchen eating everything in sight, wondering what the hell just happened. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern. And I know that feeling intimately. In this video, I'm going to break down 4 main reasons corrections fail. And I'm going to give you 3 questions to ask yourself before you ever take another correction dose. By the end, you'll know exactly how to recognize what kind of high you're actually dealing with and what to do about it. So stick with me, because number 3 is the one nobody talks about. And those 3 questions alone have saved me from more 2 a.m. lows than I can count. Now, I've been living with type 1 diabetes for 44 years. And for a long time, I thought corrections were simple. You have a high blood sugar, you take insulin, problem solved, right? But the correction isn't always the problem. A lot of the time, we're treating every high like it's the same kind of high, if that makes sense. And it's not. Think of it like a warning light on your car dashboard. Same light, but completely different causes. Low oil, dead battery, overheating engine. You wouldn't randomly start replacing parts on your car without figuring out which one was first. And yet, for years, that's exactly what I did with high blood sugar. I'd see the number and I'd reach for more insulin every single time. Let's get to the reasons. Reason number 1, the insulin is working. You just need to give it time. CGMs are incredible. They're also dangerous for an inpatient brain. And I say that because I have an inpatient brain. Before CGMs, you checked, you dosed, that's it. You didn't watch, you couldn't. Now, you can sit there staring at your CGM every 5 minutes and your brain starts negotiating. Maybe I need more insulin. Maybe I didn't absorb right. Maybe something's wrong. I used to do this, especially in the evenings, 10 p.m. I'd be sitting there on my couch and I'd be 12 millimoles, watching it creep up to 13, thinking, this isn't working. I need to take more. And then 2 a.m. in the morning, sure enough, low every single time. The insulin was never the problem. The waiting was. So reason number 2, it's not always an insulin problem. Sometimes it's a timing problem. And this is where those 3 questions come in. Here's what I mean. You eat, maybe you bolused at the same time, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit after. The food got there first, okay? Blood sugar spiked, and now it looks like the correction isn't working. But the insulin is coming. It's just on a different timeline than the carbs. And if you stack another dose on top of that, I've done this more times than I can count, you're not fixing a high, you're creating a crash that hits you an hour from now. So before reaching for more insulin, stop and ask yourself 3 things. Number 1, when did I last dose? Number 2, is there still insulin on board? IOB. Number 3, did the food just get into my system faster than the insulin? That pause alone has saved me from more unnecessary crashes than anything else I've learned in 44 years of living with type 1 diabetes. A rising arrow doesn't always mean act. Sometimes it just means wait. Hard for the impatient brain, trust me. If this is already making your numbers make more sense, hit that like button. It tells me to keep making more videos like this one. Now let's get to reason number 3. And this one took me a long time to figure out, and I'm still figuring these things out. Sometimes the body is dealing with something else entirely, and we forget to factor that in. Things like stress, bad sleep, early morning cortisol spikes, getting sick, hormones in general, dehydration. All of that changes how the body handles insulin. Take the same dose and get a completely different result. Us type 1 diabetics understand that. So not because the correction was wrong, but because the conditions were different that day. So mornings are the clearest example for me personally, because I'm way more insulin resistant when I wake up. Always have been. I think I always will be. Take the same correction that works perfectly at 3 p.m. and does absolutely nothing at 7 a.m. I almost need double the amount. So same number on the screen, completely different situation underneath it. So once I started asking what else was going on in the background, everything started making a lot more sense. And let's get to reason number 4. The insulin just isn't getting into your body the way you think it is. This one caught me off guard for years. When I was on injections, I kept using the same spots on my thighs because they didn't hurt. And over time, those sites basically stopped absorbing properly. They were lumpy, they were unpredictable, and incredibly unreliable. On a pump, a kinked cannula does the same thing. You're dialing in the dose. Nothing's actually delivering. And you find that out later when your blood sugar spikes, usually at the most inconvenient time. And for me, that's always in the middle of the night. That's actually one of the reasons I switched to True Steel, which is a metal cannula instead of a plastic one. That solved a lot of that unpredictability for me personally. And sometimes the problem isn't how much insulin you took, it's whether it actually got in. So before taking more insulin, I try to stop and ask one question. What kind of high am I actually dealing with right now? Is it a timing issue, a waiting issue, something going on in the background, or simply an absorption problem? Because most of the time, the correction didn't fail. We just diagnosed the wrong problem. We're replacing the transmission when we don't need to. And once you start thinking that way, diabetes starts to feel a lot less random. That's been the biggest shift for me after 44 years. And this is just what works for me. This is my own personal diabetes experience. So always work with your healthcare team. It's not medical advice. If you're tired of your numbers feeling random and want a system that actually makes sense, hit that subscribe button. That's exactly what this channel is about. And I put together a free guide on the 5 patterns most type 1 diabetics completely miss. It's completely free, and the link is in the description. So check it out. And if you ever feel like your carb counts are still off, even when you do everything right, check this video out next.